Hi guys, so as I mentioned in a previous video, I've been having a ridiculous number of punctures on this bike and decided to opt for a lesser known solution to the problem because it wasn't quite time to replace the tires yet. I know they haven't got the best puncture protection, but they still have plenty of life left in them. So instead of replacing them, I've decided to add some anti-puncture tape. This is how it looks like, and this goes between the inner tube and the tire, inside the actual tire, and it prevents sharp objects from reaching the inner tube and puncturing it. So let's see how it goes. The tools you need for the replacement, for the installation actually, are of course the tape itself. If you're buying this in Spain, it's called cinta anti-pinchazos. You'll need a pair of scissors to cut the tape because it does come in a length which is slightly excessive, so it overlaps itself inside the tire. This means you'll have to cut maybe a few centimeters of it and just make it slightly shorter. Another tool you'll need for the job is a pump, a mini pump or a floor pump. I'll just use the mini pump to inflate the inner tube enough to get it in shape and get it inside the tire. And after that I'll use my floor pump to install it to the desired pressure. So process is fairly simple. So of course you'll need to deflate the tire, unscrew the valve cap, and the ring around the valve. Make sure you place these somewhere safe so you don't lose them. They're very tiny. And then you proceed to removing the tire from the rim, which is not always an easy process, but at the moment I'm using aluminium rims, so this is an easy process. If you're using carbon rims, you'll find that this is probably a bit more difficult. I do have another bike on which I have carbon rims and it's very difficult to remove. There we go. So I was lucky enough not to require any tire levers as well, so that's great. Just place the rim to the side, remove the inner tube like so. I find that it helps to lay the tire flat on the ground, especially when reinstalling the inner tube. Keeps it more stable. For removing, that's not a necessity, but I find that it helps quite a lot when you reinstall the inner tube in the tire. Alright. There we go. So now you just unravel the tape and lay the tire flat. And the best way to do this is to start from the opposite side of where these ends meet, so they're just fully extended. And there is one side which is slightly more rounded. I like to put that side against the tire, against the inside of the tire, so that it follows its natural shape. And make sure you press it against the tire on every section of it. Make sure it completely covers the tire, and there are no sections on which it stretches and follows a straight line, so make sure it follows the inside of the tire nicely. You just work your way around it. You see, because I have the tire on the floor flat, makes things much easier. make sure the tape doesn't twist around. Make sure it follows the inside of the tire nicely. And try to install it as straight as possible. At some point it will sit into place quite nicely. You just press it with your fingers against the inside of the tire. And here, I don't know if you can see that, but here it overlaps itself. So this means we're going to have to cut maybe 5-6 centimeters of tape to prevent that. Alright, just making sure it follows the inside of the tire nicely one more time. So we'll just cut a few centimeters. I'll start with around 3 centimeters. It's always best to cut less, and if required you'll just cut another piece afterwards, because if you cut too much you can't put this back, of course. And another tip for installing the inner tube inside the tire easily is also to, again, lay it flat, so that provides some support and the tire won't bend in all directions, and you'll just push the inner tube inside the tire, making sure the tape stays in place. Also, you don't want to be feeling the anti-puncture tape with your fingers, because this means it's shifted position and it's no longer here. So you want it to be here, just following the tread of the tire on the inside, of course. Perfect, that's good enough. I'm gonna take the rim. How I usually do this is I just take the rim with the valve hole facing up, and with the valve I simply insert it here. Sorry, wrong way. Make sure you follow the rotation direction of the tire. I don't know if you can see it here. It says front and rear, or on some tires it simply says rotation. It will show you the front of the bike. This needs to be facing the front of the bike. So in this case, the disc will be on the left hand side, because that's where the brake caliper is. I want to make sure the front arrow is facing the front of the bike. I've done this many times on the side of the road, so I'm becoming an expert at this, unfortunately. Hopefully it will be the last time I do it for some time. That's it. Make sure the tire, the inner tube and the tape are properly seated. If you want to double check that, you can just expose a section of the inner tube and make sure you don't feel the anti-puncture tape on the side. Make sure it stays here following the tread of the tire, but on the inside. Yeah. Seems to be good in this case. Then you'll want to place the valve ring back on the valve. There we go. And then make sure the valve is open. I'm just gonna grab my floor pump here and inflated nicely. I usually inflate my tires to 110 psi. That's the equivalent of around 7.5 bars. I find this is enough, and it's good for some uneven sections of road as well. So yeah, works for me. And also there's no risk of pinch flats, because if your tire is not sufficiently inflated, then you run the risk of having pinch flats. So and that's it. Now we just place the wheel back on the frame and we're done. Before that, we just replace the cap, the valve cap, and make sure it's tightened. The core of the valve, make sure it's tightened, and then you just place the dust cap back. That's it. And retighten your quick release or through axle, whichever you're using. And that's it. Yeah, I hope this is the last time in a while that I'll be taking out my inner tube and replacing it or repairing it, whatever. And I hope this anti-puncture tape does its job and helps. The brand I'm using at the moment is Zefal. I'm not sponsored by them in any way. It's just what I found. But you can also find the Decathlon one, more generic ones. I think they do the same job. They're probably a bit heavier, maybe by a few grams or 10 grams, but that shouldn't make a massive difference. And if you think about the seconds you waste by adding a few grams, then maybe that's worth it compared to the hours wasted on the side of the road just fixing punctures. So I hope in my case it will be worth it, and I'll let you know how it goes. Thanks for watching.